Hello, everybody. Hello, Mr. Ridgely.
Hello, Mr. Madison. How are you?
I'm alive and well. First off, I want to apologize to all of our beloved Brigade. Last week, I had every intention of being on. The show actually means the world to me. And but about 3 days before we were supposed to air, up here on the mountain in Pennsylvania where I live, we got over 40 inches of snow. 40 inches of snow. You never thought you could feel so free, I bet, either. And we had a power outage that lasted almost 4 days, and I could not do the show, so I was heartbroken. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on the end of the night. Another thing I wanted to say is that I don't give enough kudos to other people on our wonderful, wonderful network. I mean, George is great. He's a living legend. Hello, Ken. Giving Pornhub to be that's very
Giving
nice.
up Pornhub to be here tonight.
I know exactly, what a sacrifice that is, because so am I. No, I watched Terry's show last night, and what a great show! He had Ed McKeever, who's a great filmmaker and a great member of the Brigade, and was just, it's amazing how much talent there is in the Brigade. I see, I don't tell Lance and Sam how great their show is all the time. They always have amazing guests. The quality of entertainment that we have on is absolutely outstanding. Hey, Sean, I hope you're well. I hope you're healing up and everything is copacetic and all is good. And, I just really wanted to take a moment and say bravo to all you guys, because you all do some really pretty amazing stuff. Except for you, Joe.
I agree. I mean, I can't argue that logic whatsoever.
I mean, you just sit around and grow your Chia Pet beard.
Chia.
And sit there like the ruler of the entire universe. Like, if Dave steps out of line, I will just zap him.
Well, I got to interrupt for 1 second. Speaking of the Wagners, Sunday night, 11 p.m., the Wagners with Tyler Shea Cohn will have director, writer, actor, all indie films, Drew Marvick on. So everybody, please make sure to tune in Sunday night, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Sweet. Drew's a great director, and he has one hell of an insidious beard. I feel totally like this little wimpy goatee action that I have going on. I feel totally out of place in this network where everybody has the coolest beards.
I got to work on it.
No, your beard's cool.
Oh, well, thanks.
So I was going through my nightstand. Well, you're very welcome, Lance. Don't piss off your producer. Thank you, Libby. It's words to live by.
Libby.
Don't piss. So do I, but.
And I love Sean.
Sean's okay. I was going through my nightstand, and I found some.
This is a family-friendly show.
No. I've been married for 30 years, man. There's nothing exciting in my nightstand, I'll tell you that. And I found something that I hadn't thought about. Oh, hi, Jessica. And New Zealand, awesome. My favorite wrestler was from New Zealand. Can you guess who that is?
New Zealand.
Auckland, New Zealand is what he would be. Named when he, they would say where they come from. No, are you a wrestling guy?
In the 80s.
Well, this is when this guy was.
But I remember like the key guys and like the first WrestleMania and stuff.
From Auckland, New Zealand. No, not The Rock. Jessica, you really think he's from Auckland? You think he's from New Zealand? My favorite wrestler from New Zealand was a guy named Tony Garea. Do you remember Tony Garea?
I got nothing. No.
Tony Garea was the WWF Tag Team Champion with Rick Martel. All right, I'm boring people with stupid wrestling.
Yeah, did
I was
he
going
hang out
to-
with Jimmy Superfly Snuka?
Of
Or
course, they were all in that. They were all in that clan. Let me hydrate
Okay.
for a minute because I talk so much, my tongue starts to dry. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff was best ever. Oh, okay, actually, my favorite real wrestler was Roddy Piper. How can you go wrong with Roddy Piper? You're twitching, Libby. I'm sorry to hear that. Take some Advil and go to sleep.
all right, I will have to remove the Twitch link. Thank you, Libby. Oh, people
that
saying
actually
hi to
something?
Lance. I'm sorry.
Okay, so forget my jargon. So I was going through my nightstand, and about 25 years ago, off Broadway, I saw this show, and I was curious. I don't even know if you knew this exists, but did you know? And it was really fantastic. There was an Evil Dead musical.
I recall hearing about it, but I wasn't sure if it was an actual thing or not.
Yes, it was an actual thing. It started out in Toronto, I think, and then it went. Hi, Kathy. And it went from Toronto to hi, Noelle. If I'm reading that correctly.
Yes, Noelle. Don't get her name wrong. She is
My-
very vindictive if you do that. She will hunt you down.
My apologies. I'm old, senile, and I don't have my glasses on. Looking. Oh, you're not late. Mr. Katt hasn't come on yet. Evil Dead the musical. If anybody gets a chance, either try to find it on a bootleg DVD or buy the Evil Dead the musical CD. And if it's not one of your favorite CDs, send me an SD note and I will pay for whatever you paid for the Evil Dead CD. The Evil Dead the musical CD. That's how good that CD is.
Saying Johnny Johnson, I believe, producer of the Evil Dead musical, at least one of them. Oh, there's more than one?
No, I think there's only one.
Oh,
It's a traveling musical roadshow, and a guy named Ryan Ward played Ash. And I tell you, it was literally like the reincarnation of Bruce Campbell playing Ash. It was just fantastic. And the songs, there's a song called "What the Fuck Was That," which is just one of the best songs you'll ever listen to. And it's just a great. It was a great stage play. They actually toured only like 2 summers ago, and but the CD, Evil Dead the Musical, is a must-have for all horror fans out there. Another thing,
Sweet.
I don't know if you knew this, but in 1996, which I guess now is 25 years ago, believe it or not already, the U.S. Postal, the U.S. Postal Service. Another thing I found when I was cleaning up my nightstand, came out with the Universal Monsters postage stamps. Let's see, can you see that?
I can. We can. And you have the whole set.
Back when stamps were actually only 32 cents. And, but how cool was that? These were actually on envelopes throughout 1996. The Universal Monsters postage stamps.
Well, you got to forgive me because I don't even think in 1996 I was mailing things. I think I was doing things electronically then. But
Playing with your stuffed Chewbacca. Who are you kidding?
okay, first of all, it wasn't Shabak. Never mind. That's beside the point. So people actually use those to mail, or they just weren't a collector's thing?
No, they were just literally like you'd go to the post office, and back in the day, they used to do really cool series back in the 80s and 90s. Like they had Elvis stamps and Jackie Robinson stamps. And of course, morons like, thank you, Lance. There are morons like me who would buy them for collector's purposes because I was an absolutely enormous Universal Monsters fan. I still have a fax machine. Just the fact, is that like a vampire at the end of that? Yeah.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know. That's
Maybe it's just like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. What do I tell you?
I mean, stamps now, they're like forever stamps and stuff, from what I understand. But that's beside the point.
Okay. Well, I
Deep
don't want
breath.
to bore people with my silly shenanigans any further. Is my great co-host and lovely friend Uncle Scott Schiaffo around?
He most certainly is. Give me a thumbs up, Scott. Right on, Mr. Schiaffo.
Ladies
What's
and gentlemen,
up?
Scott Schiaffo.
How are you, gentlemen? Good to see you.
How are you?
Great
Mr.
to see you.
Schiaffo?
I'm doing great. Hey, listen, I love those stamps. I'm a Universal horror guy too, and those are really cool.
Do you remember when they came out by any chance?
I actually don't. And also, did I hear you right about the Evil Dead musical? Did you say 25 years?
Yeah, it first came out in Toronto 25 years ago. I seen it off Broadway. I think it was at the New World Stages, which is a block off of Broadway. I saw it. It was before my daughter Amanda was born, and she's already going to be 18. So that had to be at least 20 years ago.
Yeah,
When it
okay.
was in New York.
That's unbelievable. Because it seems like, because Mike Russin, good friend of mine, writer, producer, director, Mike Russin, he turned me on to Evil Dead about 15, 20 years ago now, I guess. God, time really does fly. And I remember when that came out, and I was like, wow, was that long ago?
Yeah, no, and if another hint, if you're doing a stage show of Evil Dead in your town anytime soon, make sure you buy tickets in the first 6 rows because it's called the Splatter Zone, and you get covered, and I mean covered. I literally went. Me and my wife went to go see Evil Dead, and we had dinner plans for later that evening at a very nice restaurant on Broadway with another couple. And we show up literally doused in blood, and they were like, it's Dave Madison. It's not even remotely weird.
2011. Okay, that's 12 years. No, 10, 12 years. 11 years.
Let's see how many kids get this.
Yes. You got to have the big hammer.
Now, were they using like the real nasty Caro syrup blood? I mean, because that's really messy.
Oh no, they told you if you were in the splatter zone, either wear a
Garbage bag.
Yeah, garbage bag or a rain gear.
Right.
But they said if you are coming to the show and you live, and you are in the first 6 rows, you're going to be doused. And they were not kidding. They were not kidding at all. With that being said, Mr. Ridgely, can you see our guests in the green room?
I can.
Okay, without further ado, our guest tonight is really a living legend, an icon of television and film. He's appeared in so many memorable hit films and really one of the most beloved series of the last 30 years. He's a dear friend of my dear friend Eric Wilkinson, and from what I understand, just an all-out wonderful and upstanding guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. William Katt.
Hey guys,
How are you?
Hello.
Hey, William.
happy to be here. You guys were talking about fake blood a little bit ago, and reminded me of a couple weeks of work on Carrie that we did. That was
Oh my God, you got doused.
very sticky. Yeah.
You know what?
Oh, that's great. We got right to it because I was hoping we could get maybe some tidbits out of you from that because I'm a huge De Palma guy, and that's blows my mind. That's so wonderful. You were part of that film, and it's that iconic role from that alone, and that was fairly early on for you, correct?
Yeah, I was. It was. I'd only done a few things before that, mainly some theater. One of my first big things was I did a movie of the week with Yaphet Kotto and David Jansen, and that was my first thing. And that right after that was right away was Carrie auditioning for George Lucas and Brian De Palma with like a plethora of all the young Hollywood talent at the time, and I didn't get Luke Skywalker, but I did get Tommy Ross, so it wasn't all bad.
I love that he brought that up first.
Did you audition for Luke Skywalker?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of Kurt Russell and I read. He was reading for Han Solo, and I was reading for Luke, and I thought it was a pretty good audition. I think the long hair that I had at the time kind of fucked it up for everybody.
So
That's
tell us,
awesome.
Carrie,
Sorry.
Kurt hasn't had a bad career though, so he's okay.
So tell us what it was like to be directed by Brian De Palma. I mean, he's historically one of the most influential filmmakers of all time.
Well, I remember going into it that my agent at the time, Michael Black, who was at ICM, said that Brian was right on the brink of really breaking out in mainstream Hollywood because he had only done some small independents before then. Greetings, Hi Mom, Get to Know Your Rabbit, a couple things. Oddly enough, Bobby De Niro had started with him and doing some comedies. It's kind of funny that now toward the end of his career, he's come back to doing a lot of comedy. He got away, for the main part of the bulk of his career, he was doing kind of the bad guy roles and whatnot. But he's actually a very, very, very funny man. But let me digress for 1 second. When I was auditioning for those guys, it was well known through my agent and other people in Hollywood that Brian was right on the brink of breaking out. And as it turns out, Carrie was probably one of his seminal films that made him a big star.
easily.
Yeah, and
We were all, Amy Irving and Sissy Spacek and John Travolta and me and BJ Souls and we all had really pretty good careers as a result of being in that one film.
Like the gateway, yeah, it opened up the floodgates for you.
It did.
so tell me a little bit about. I heard you say that before you did Carrie, that you dabbled in stage work. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of beards. Yes, I guess me and Mr. Katt are somewhere in the middle. Scott's at the beginning, and Joe's got the Jesus look going on. Well,
It's kind of boring, I went to Orange Coast College in Newport Beach. I went down there mainly so I could surf at Huntington Beach and the jetties down there. And one day I followed a girl I was chasing a girl and she walked into the auditorium where there was an acting class going on. Long story short, my parents were friendly with Jack Holland, who was the instructor at the time. I got into the class 10 weeks late, made up all the work, and that really started the trajectory, the long and arduous trajectory of being an actor down there. I started working with South Coast Repertory, which is a repertory company in Orange County. Now they're very famous. They won some Tonys, and subsequently to that, my starting with them, and I went on, did a lot of work in New York, in the Mark Taper Forum, the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, CTG in Los Angeles, mainly as a result of knowing just a few people that I got friendly with, and one thing led to another, but my first big break was definitely Carrie. That really launched my career as an actor. Before then, I didn't know that I really had a career, and then like all young people, man, I just started following the money. I didn't even know that I really wanted to do that as a career. But when I started making money at it, it kind of laid the groundwork for me.
now when you were a young man, I'm sorry, Gio. Well, when you were a young man growing up, what actors or films did you watch that inspired you to say, hell, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be an actor.
Oh, gee whiz. When I was growing up in the 50s, it was, a lot of cowboy films, Jimmy Stewart and, John Wayne and, all those great cowboy actors. They really had an impact on me. My biggest hero probably at the time was Steve McQueen. I really liked his sense of cool and, he really impressed me a lot.
Were you a big fan of Who Shot Liberty Valance?
Yeah, I like that. I think one of my favorite films was The Searchers, probably.
No, the reason I asked you is because you said John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart specifically, and that was the only movie I could think of that they worked on together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I was laughing at Polar Nights. William looks familiar. Is he an actor? I'm really hoping you're being facetious.
My son is famous. Yes.
William, would you ever encourage your kids to get into acting?
No. No,
There you go. There you go. As an honest man.
much better sense than me. They all one's an attorney back in Virginia.
Wow.
One's a farrier, does very well. He shoes horses, got a lot of clients. My daughter is in Dakota's in skincare and does very, very well in that. And my other son's in construction up in Denver. So no, they thought better of it. They took one look at me and said, nah, we don't want that.
Now, after you got done with Carrie, you done a bunch of films, but then you also did, you got involved with Perry Mason.
I did.
The Development Perry Mason show. Tell us a little bit how you got involved with that and with your...
Oh, where's my mom?
Were you Paul? Was your character Paul Drake, as I recall?
Yeah, Paul Drake.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, I grew up on set. My mom's, everybody probably knows, was Barbara Hale,
mm-hmm.
who was Della Street on that show. And talking about Jimmy Stewart, she had done a film with Jimmy Stewart. She worked with Jimmy Cagney and Stewart and Frank Sinatra and, a lot of Fred McMurray, a whole bunch of people. Ended up doing the Masons with Raymond, who we called Uncle Raymond, because I knew him since I was 5 or 6 years old, and he was always a big part of our family, on and off screen. Anyway, in the mid, I think it was 85, 86. I think it was 86. I got a call. I was on tour with George Rose doing the Pirates of Penzance. We had started off at the Wolfgang Theater in DC, and then we went a couple other places. I was in St. Louis on stage and got a call from Raymond, and he said, well, we're doing the show again, and your mom is going to be a part of it. We'd like you to come and play Paul Drake Jr. Because William Tallman, was that Hopper? No, William Hopper was who played Paul Drake in the original series, and he had passed away by that time. And I bore some sort of resemblance to him. And they asked me to come do the show, so I left. Got out of my contract on the tour, and I went up flew to Toronto, and we did the show, and I stayed with them for about 4.5 years. We did 4 episodes a year, TV movies, when they were doing TV movies. I had a ball, Wow. We shot 1 in Toronto, 1 in Vancouver, and then everything else pretty much we shot in and around Denver, Colorado.
Wow. In
Wow.
You just unloaded so much stuff on me there. And did your mom ever tell you any specific stories about Jimmy Stewart? Because I am the biggest Jimmy Stewart nut on the face of the earth.
Yeah, he's we love Jimmy Stewart. He was always the everyman. The closest actor today that I can think of that comes even close to him is Matt Damon.
Really?
Who's also a wonderful actor and kind of reminds me of that kind of everyman. Maybe Tom Hanks too.
That's who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, me too.
Tom, but yeah, both of them. They have that everyman kind of quality. Well, they're very chameleon-like. They can be anything they want to be because they're both fabulous actors.
Yeah, I actually went out to Indiana, Pennsylvania, just to see his childhood house. That's how.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life is what made me want to become a filmmaker. I think it's the perfect film. In 1985, you did a film that is beloved in horror circles and become a cult classic. Tell us a little bit about your how you got involved, and tell us a little bit about House.
Oh, House. Okay. Oh, look at that. Actually, my co-star was upstaging me right there. Look, the coolest thing about this this piece of, and it was really a piece of artwork. It's a shame that it didn't survive because those the monster was made. It was quite big. It was about the size of a small Volkswagen. And what you don't see, and they never really dwelled on it in the film, is all the faces and the mutilated bodies that are on the sides of this creation that was so intricately carved by the puppet maker. And we never really saw it in the film because it was just flashes of it. But it was really quite remarkable. There was 6 people controlling this, puppeteers controlling this creation. And it was just masterful, just a beautiful piece of work. It was a lot of fun to do. Trying to think. Oh my God, I have sponge brain for a second. The Steve
Miner.
Steve Miner, yeah. The film. That film represents his sense of humor. He's a sick motherfucker. Really, he's a sick guy, man. He's out of left field, and I mean that in all the best ways. He's just incredibly dark and funny, has a wicked sense of humor, and that's really, my hat's off to him. I want to pay homage to Steve because that film wouldn't have worked without Steve. It was just brilliant.
Speaking of Steve Miner, I think he had at that point only directed maybe 1 or 2 Friday the 13th films.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did House. When you were working him with House, did you see that he was going to become such a prolific filmmaker?
Again, like I said a few minutes ago about Brian De Palma, word had it that this was going to be his breakout film, and it obviously was because he had his finger on the pulse. It was kind of right after MTV, and it kind of had that post-MTV pop culture quality about it. Mm-hmm. We, for me, like my bag of tricks as an actor, what my trademark thing that I play, I did it in this film, I did it in Carrie, I did it in Greatest American Hero. I always play. It seems to me, these are the roles I get. I always play, the real guy in an absurd situation. And that's the way we played it. And that's the way the film worked. All these wacky things were happening around me, but I just played it for real. And that's the way Steve asked me to play it. And it worked so brilliantly in that film.
Yeah, he went on a couple of years after he did House and did another wonderful film called Warlock. And if anybody out there who loves House should also check out his film Warlock. It was just a really great film.
What's the film he did that with the big alligator? What was that film?
Lake Placid.
Oh, that was a good film too.
Yeah, he did Lake Placid. He did Halloween H2O, the one where Jamie Lee Curtis returned.
Yeah.
He did, and of course, Warlock and House, which are 2 really great films.
Really
you just touched on it. Yep. I guess a role that was probably life-changing for you. And that stupid song to this day rings into my head at least once a week. I'm sure it does to you. Tell us about your one of your most beloved characters, the Greatest American Hero.
Oh, it's funny. I was just, look at that. Oh, my great co-stars in that film, in that movie, those movies. She was Bob Culp and Connie Seliga. I just talked to Connie the other day. She's never done a con before.
Oh, wow.
She's never done a con.
That'll be something.
At the end of March, we're going to do a Zoom like this together. And I'm so excited. I had to promise her she didn't have to get out of her pajamas. She could do it from her house. So, she was very happy about that. Anyway, I just wanted to announce that for anyone that might be interested.
Do you know the dates on that?
I think it's March 27th. I don't know where it's going to be.
Okay.
I tell you what, I'll do some research on that, and I'll get back to you. I'll email you guys.
Sweet.
Let you know. Where was I? I had finished doing. I did Big Wednesday with Jan Michael Vincent and Gary Busey. Then I did Butch and Sundance the early days with Berenger. Worked with Richard Lester, who was another amazing director to work with, who had directed all the Beatle films.
Beatle movies, yeah.
And he was great. He called them the boys. He used to love to tell stories about the boys. He actually, just a quick aside, he developed his whole camera work. He would shoot with 3 or 4 cameras at the same time because the Beatles, they'd only get one shot at it because the crowds would gather in a matter of seconds. So they'd let them out of a car at one side, one portion of a street. They'd run down the block. By the time they got to the other end of the block, there was like hundreds and hundreds of people. So he had to shoot with 4 cameras. And that's the way we shot Butch and Sundance the early days. With 4 cameras. So every take was like you'd be covered 4 ways. Anyway, Greatest American Hero. I was on stage. After those films finished, I didn't get any work for a while, so I went back east, and I got cast in a play called Bonjour la Bonjour, which was a Michel Tremblay play, a Canadian, and I got to co-star in it with the great Diana Wiest, who everybody knows,
Wow.
her hands and whatnot, and
Well,
Well, it's over Broadway.
yeah, it was. We were off Broadway at the last season of the Phoenix Rep. And when I was there, my agent sent me this wacky script called The Greatest American Hero. And I didn't want to do a TV show at the time. I was quite happy being in New York. But I read the script and it was laugh out loud funny. And they implored me to meet with the writer, Stephen J. Cannell. And I said, okay. So Steve took his private plane and flew out to New York and saw the show. And then he took me out to dinner. And it was such a pivotal watershed moment for me because here was a man that I met that probably had the biggest influence on my life outside of my own father. He was someone that became truly one of the great heroes in my life. He was such an amazing, lovely, gracious, courageous, brilliant, talented individual that I couldn't say no to him. So we finished about 2 weeks later. Maybe it was 3 weeks later. We finished on a Sunday afternoon. I got on the plane, flew back to LA. Monday morning, we started at 6:30 in the morning. My hair was dark at the time because I had dyed it. This is my natural color was blonde. Dyed it from brown back to blonde. And we started the show. One aside is he would never show me the frickin' outfit, right? Every time I would bring it up, Steve, what does this outfit look like? You know, the costume that he wears. And he said, oh, we'll get to that, Bill. We'll get to that. You know, don't worry about that. It's kind of funny. It's supposed to be funny. And one of the first times I saw it was actually on camera when you see it in the pilot, when I come out wearing that thing and I look at the mirror at myself and I go, hi, sailor. We can never get away with today.
Yeah.
These days, that would be so politically incorrect. But it was fun. It was ad-lib. And one of the great things about that show is we got to keep in lots of ad-libs. Both Bob Culp and me and Connie and the producers were smart enough to let us do that. And I think that lended itself to the uniqueness of that show. Plus the fact that they were using great pop songs like Rocket Man and David Bowie songs, which unfortunately never made it in the DVDs because I guess they didn't have the license
Yeah.
for that music on the DVDs.
Yeah, physical media licenses are totally
Is
different.
that what it's called?
Yeah. So you get Greatest American Hero and you become a pop culture icon. Everybody knows that character. Everybody knows that TV show. How does it feel all these years later to have your own Greatest American Hero action figure?
It's bizarre. You know, they never made a bobblehead. I always wanted a bobblehead of that so I could put it on my dash.
You need to get a Funko. What do they call these Funko guys?
Funkos, yeah.
This guy.
Oh, I don't have one of those. No, I don't have one of those. I don't think they ever made one of Greatest American Hero.
They should. Now what we have to do is that we have to get behind the Greatest American Hero and get him to appear in either the MCU or the DC cinematic universe. That would be so cool.
That would be.
That'd be a lot of fun. But I have to tell you, 2 or 3 seasons ago, I did appear in the first crossover in that kind of universe when Supergirl was involved and the Green Arrow and whatnot. There was a big crossover show, and I got to play the preacher that marries Green Arrow and one of the other characters.
Oh, outstanding.
Hey, killed me off right away.
Oh,
I know.
no.
So this is going to be, but I was a really, really big fan of this show, and I think you only appeared maybe on one episode. But what was it like? And I'm not sure, but was Howard Stern the producer of Son of the Beach?
Oh, yes, he
Right.
was.
Yeah, that was his show, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that I even did that. Oh my God. Wow.
That was such a funny show.
It was wacky, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really.
Just like him. I remember doing his show once with Jan Michael Vincent, and wow, he's a real character. Lovely man. Lovely guy.
Timothy Stack was the star of that show, and it was just a funny. That was a really funny show. No memories of that specific episode or working on that show?
I don't have any memory of that show. I don't know. Maybe it was maybe I was still doing bad things at the time. Now I sit and drink my tea,
And tell us a little bit about Dark Justice.
Dark Justice. Remind me.
There's a TV show you did in the 1990s.
Justice. What was it about?
It was about an hour long. Moving right along.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work. Okay.
I know. And the Batman animated series?
I do remember that. That was cool. And I played Hawkman a couple times too.
And Seventh Heaven?
In Seventh Heaven?
Yeah.
I remember that show very well. I only did a couple episodes of that. I don't think but Aaron Spelling liked me for some reason. I don't know why. And I got to do Models Inc. for a while, which was another show with him that actually Carrie Moss, who was famous for The Matrix, she was in that show, and I played her boyfriend for a time.
And I remember seeing you on Jag a couple of times.
Did Jag?
That was a really cool show.
That was a very cool show. I'm surprised it's still not on the air right now. I mean, CSI has been on the air for, 20 years?
Easily.
I think Jag should have still been on the air. I mean, it's as topical now as it ever was then.
Absolutely. It's a great show, and it's very similar to a show that's very popular today. I think it's very similar to The Blacklist. It has kind of the same vibe, if you guys ever seen the James Spader show.
Yeah. Another good actor, great guy.
My dear friend, I think it was on tonight. I'm good friends with Huey Lewis, and I think Huey was on Blacklist tonight. Oddly enough, playing Huey Lewis. The next film I want to talk to you about, it was a small indie film, but it really, really caught fire and has an enormous following. And I know you guys recently made a sequel. Tell us a little bit about The Man from Earth.
Oh, that's a film, and I think you and I have a mutual friend, Eric Wilkinson.
Yes, yep.
He was one of the producers on that film. And I remember getting that script, and it was a very, very small, it was going to be a very small independent film. And my agent at the time was very vocal about the fact that I shouldn't do something like that. But when I read the script, I read the first 5 pages, and I said, well, this is intriguing. By the 10th page, I couldn't put it down. I kept reading the script because it was so intriguing, the story itself. And then, of course, it was written by Jerome Bixby, who was just a wonderful science fiction writer and had a great history of writing for these wonderful shows, science fiction shows. And anyway, I was the first. I believe I was one of the first people to commit to that, to do it. We shot it in 6 days, 6 consecutive nights, but we had a good week and a half or 2 weeks of a table read with all the actors. And I think it was really, really well done. I wish in retrospect that they had used a better camera and that they had had another 2 or 3 days to work on the film, because it could have just been a little bit larger in scope. But by and large, for what it was excellent, because the story was the intriguing part of that whole film. And I used to tell people, yeah, if you watch the first 10 minutes of that film, you're going to watch the rest of the film, because the questions that it poses, and I'm not going to give anything away, but the questions were really intriguing about a guy who lives 10,000 years. He doesn't know why he's lived 10,000 years. He's not an undead person. He's just a normal guy, and he keeps going on and on and on. And his encounters and where he's been throughout history is really intriguing. And we played professors, professor of history, theology, I forget what all it was, geology, and we all sit around this room one night, and we try to poke holes in his story, his fantastical story, and we can't do it. And the script has all of these characters are very intelligent, smart people, all PhDs in their relative fields, and we can't poke a hole in his story. And where he takes us in that journey from beginning to end is really fantastic.
It's actually absolutely astonishing, because it's clearly a small film, but it's a small film that packed an enormous punch. It has tens and tens of thousands of people who love it virally, and you did a fantastic job. And Eric, kudos, and everybody who worked on that film. You really made a taut little sci-fi.
Well, what was interesting, the way they cast it, they had all these interesting characters that had a history in science fiction. Or, that was all their lead characters in there. So we had a fan base that came to it, and then because it was intriguing, it just grew, and it's grown exponentially, and over the years it's become a fan favorite.
Absolutely. This is a strange question, but I like to ask this of all actors who I thoroughly respect. If you were stranded on a deserted island, and you had this is a bizarre question, but you had a DVD/CD player, and you could only have one film and one album with you, what would they be?
What would they be? Rubber Soul would be the album, Beatles.
Yes.
That would be my one album, Rubber Soul. I mean, okay. I love all their work. And I have some other favorite groups, but they kind of stand a little bit above everybody else in my mind. And what film? Probably Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, brilliant choice.
Hero Tool and Lawrence of Arabia, all those wonderful actors. I just love that film.
It's very sad, because we just lost Christopher Plummer recently.
Yeah.
And not too long before Christopher Plummer, we lost Max von Sydow. And it seems like the newer generations of actors aren't filling those spaces like they should. Does that make any kind of sense of what I'm trying to say? I mean, it's like the iconic actors of yesteryear, and even actors from like yourself from just seem to be so much more polished and so much more ready than, I guess, what the newer generation is. Or am I just a grouchy old man?
Yeah, you're a grouchy old man.
Okay.
You're an ageist. No.
I think there's some wonderful young talent out there. I do. I think there's some wonderful. Timothy Chalamet and some of these other young guys are just. Ian McGregor, I think, is fucking amazing.
I love the dude who was in Split. I always forget his name.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I forget his name too. Oh,
but that guy has an amazing amount of talent. No, it's just that I sit back and I watch films with like Jimmy Stewart, and I sit and watch films with like Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby could not only act, but he could sing and he could dance. And it seemed like like entertainers might have been more well-rounded. But again, I'm probably just a grouchy old. James McAvoy, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm probably just a grouchy old man. So, Mr. Katt,
Yeah.
where can your fans find you on social media to follow you and see all the things you are up to?
Well, I don't have Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter or any of that stuff. I do have, I think, a Facebook page that a gal runs for me, a Greatest American Hero handbook page that Marcy Boku, a lovely gal back east of New York, runs for me. You can get in touch with me there, or I guess through Eric, if he's thrown up an email. We'll barrage Eric with like hundreds of emails.
Great.
Eric is a dear friend of mine, and we pal around and we go out to dinner and stuff. And in all honesty, he adores you. He thinks you're like the greatest, and he has nothing but wonderful things to say about you. And he can't wait to work with you again. So I don't know if he wanted me to say that, but I thought maybe you should hear it because it's the truth.
There is a question we didn't get to, if we could, please.
Absolutely.
So people notice the instruments in the background, and they're curious what kind of music you play.
Oh, they're just for this particular show. I don't play anything. No, I just look at them and I wish that I could play them. No, I majored in music theory in school when I was in college for a bit, and so although I didn't pursue that as a profession, I've always done that instead of doing crossword puzzles. I sit at home and I fool around on the guitar and the piano. That's what I do. And occasionally, I played out with I had played in a jazz trio for about 5 or 6 years, and instead of going to a bowling alley and meeting once a week, I would meet with these guys. We would sit, we would play, and occasionally we would play out, but not professionally, just for fun.
Well, Scott and I, and Brian O'Halloran from Clerks, and Alan Jacks Bowers, who's a drummer for Jimmy Buffett, we have a band called the Wandering Wannabes, and I just talked the great William Sadler to join. So maybe
nice.
Mr. Katt, if you want to come out and jam with us and be a Wandering Wannabe. And we're just like the Traveling Wilburys, but without all that talent baggage.
Yeah, we don't want to get there.
Yeah. We kind of just, oddly enough, the first thing we released was a Christmas album. How sad is that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
With that being said, I want to thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Because I don't want to send Mr. Katt on his way if you guys wanted to ask him something that I missed.
Well, I could keep him on for another hour and a half, but
You guys are so great to have me. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of the show for just a little bit.
Oh, no, it was absolutely our honor. And please, the Indie Brigade is a loving family of filmmakers. And we always we have big holiday shows that are star-studded. There's like 10 or 12 stars on the screen. And we sit back and we talk smack and we have a good time. So when we have our next holiday show, I will send you an invite, and we would love to have you back.
Oh, thanks, you guys. Thank you.
Thank
God
you,
bless.
Mr.
Take care. Stay safe. Be well.
You too. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, William. You're an inspiration, man.
Okay. Bye.
good
guys.
night. What an
Wow.
awesome guy.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
man, what a career, and still rocking it and going stronger than ever.
You know what? I think Mr. Katt is almost 70 years old, and he looks younger than I do, which just absolutely sucks.
Looks younger than all of us do. What the hell are you talking about?
Got more vitality.
That's just not fair.
It's that surfing.
Yes.
There you go. The salt water.
Amazeballs. Oh,
Amazeballs.
Mr. O'Halloran, how are you, my friend?
Hey.
Hey!
Your show was fantastic tonight. If anybody did not watch it live, I don't know why you didn't, but if you
I'm
did-
sorry. What was the artist's name? I'm drawing a blank.
Ferrara? Glenn? Was it Glenn Ferrara? I don't want to mess it up. Glenn
I
Ferrara?
believe so.
I believe.
Yep. Check it out on the O'Halloran page, and it was funny. And Glenn Ferraro, yes. And Brian has got just a great show there. He's a swell guy. Need to go to bed close to midnight here. Thanks to everyone. Thank you for stopping in and watching the show.
We got Mr. Romero.
Mr. Romero.
Hey!
You know, he looks like Hulk Hogan in that picture. It's absolutely horrifying. He's like, I want to kill you. Did you see it? Do you agree?
No, I don't see. I just see
you don't
some
see
badass.
It?
I see him.
He's like, I'm going to kill you, brother. No. Do you
Maybe
see
if he had a little bit of the mullet sticking out.
I see a little bit of that in there. He does look like a badass, that's for sure.
Oh.
Did George piss off the mob? He'll be back next week.
He's posting all these pictures of this wonderful food all the time.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that George or is that his lovely wife making?
No, he's eating well.
That's mainly him, I believe.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
That's one way he keeps his sanity throughout all this.
Did he get a bad ice storm?
He did get a bad ice storm. That's why we were contemplating on having a show this week or not. The power was going out intermittently, and, he'd rather not chance it, having a bad show. So
Paul says the show needs to come out on Blu-ray. I hope he means this one and not like The Greatest American Hero.
Well, I thought he meant the Indie Brigade, but whatever. No, I'm kidding.
Isn't that this show?
Well, no, this is the end of the night.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were all like family. My apologies.
Oh, no, we are family, but then we'd have to include the Wagner Wiles. We'd have to include Terry as well.
Absolutely. We want them all.
Everyone. I don't know what that look means.
Nice.
I think
This
that's
is Twitch.
Brian.
Look at that icon.
Brian's got the
Debonair.
He's got the coolest toys.
He does. That
He looks
O'Halloran.
like Tommy Chung in disguise. Wow.
Who looks like Tommy Chung in disguise?
I'm assuming they mean George.
Oh, okay.
Or Brian?
No, I think he
A
meant
reviewer
George.
once said that somebody who reviewed Clerks said that Brian was Charlie Sheen beaten with the geek stick. And that's actually very cool. And I know Brian dug that. I would dig it if I got that.
If somebody wants to compare me to Charlie Sheen
Hey,
instead of the guy from King of Queens, by all means.
You get Kevin James?
I've gotten it once or twice, yes. Not with this.
I get Lemmy.
But,
I
yes,
usually
highest
get
praise. he
somebody
said.
like Chris Pine or Chris
See?
Pratt.
He knows. Have a good night, Christopher.
Did anybody who's watching us right now watch The Blacklist tonight? I'm curious. Did anybody watch it? Answer in comments if you did. Lemmy rocked. I guess nobody watched. Do you watch The Blacklist, Joe?
I do not.
Do you watch it, Scott?
I don't. And I love James Spader. I love the guy, but I just never hooked into that show.
I am like an enormous James Spader fan, and I love that show. And I was curious if anybody watched it tonight because Yui was on. Just once or twice. What am I missing?
Yui, I watched the show once or twice. So Yui played Yui. He cameoed as himself.
Yeah, apparently one of the main characters, the actor died in real life, the guy who was on the show. And apparently they got around to killing his character on the show tonight. And the character was an enormous Huey Lewis fan. So Red Reddington, who's James Spader, goes out to Huey's house in California and asks Huey to play at the guy's funeral at a Baltimore DMV.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I just got some inside intel on what the episode was about. And it was curious. James Spader.
Just had a
What?
birthday, 61 years old, and Brian saying what?
About what?
And
What about
Don't know.
what? I don't know. James Spader is one of my favorite actors. That was.
that was Huey's line, he said.
Oh.
Oh, wouldn't we all, Sean? Wouldn't we all?
Spader says,
You know what? Let's get James
Next guy's
Spader
a-
on the end of the night.
yeah.
That's going to be our goal.
Did you read that from the
He's that from
TV
TV Guide.
I don't think it's in the TV Guide, George.
Dang!
I think it's just a minor part of the episode, to be honest.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not George. That's Tommy Chong.
Oh yeah, no, that's Tommy Hogan
Tommy Hogan, Tommy Chong.
or Hulk Chong.
Hey, Spader from his early days in those movies.
Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Lesson Zero.
I like the Bad Influence.
Right, that's another really good one. Or did you see him with John Cusack in True Colors?
And wasn't he in Wolf?
Yes, and he's
No.
phenomenal in that.
Is that
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson?
Yep.
Yeah, and James Spader.
Right. And
You know what's so
Michelle
funny?
Pfeiffer.
I saw him in
Yeah.
a movie, and I can't. And I might be like the only person who ever saw this movie, but it was a weird, really, really fucking weird movie, where him and this woman like to drive around in cars and get in auto accidents. Did
That's
anybody
not-
else?
No, well, that's not Crash. That's not White Palace, is it? Was it Susan Sarandon?
No, it was
Because he
Spader.
did a movie with her, White Palace.
It was Spader about a couple who literally liked to get into. Everybody seems to be
They're
calling it
saying Crash by Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crash. What about Secretary? You remember Secretary with Gyllenhaal? Maggie Gyllenhaal?
No, I
Oh,
didn't
this-
see that one.
It's a crazy. It's basically just the two of them, and he is her boss, and it's an S&M thing, but it's done really well. It's called Secretary. You got to see that.
Oh, yeah, Stargate as well. That's right. I remember one movie from the early 80s where he's a badass bully kicking the crap. Man, what the hell's the name of
Tough
that?
Turf. Tough
Tough-
Turf.
Yes, Tough Turf. That's it. I remember the 80s stuff more than the more current.
Yeah,
That's
well, me
funny.
too. 80s and 90s.
You know what's funny? I mean, if you love James Spader, you really have to. I mean, first of all, you really have to watch Blacklist because it's really some of his best work. But did you guys watch Boston Legal?
Mike Rusin, who you know well, you know is a buddy of mine. He loved that show. I think Shatner was on that too, right?
Yeah, it was Spader and Shatner, and that was literally like a match made in hell. But it was like great. It was unbelievably at the end of every episode, Spader and Shatner would sit on top of their balcony and pontificate,
Right.
and it was just really, just a great television show. But what the hell do I know?
Still asking myself that.
Yeah.
Delayed reaction, Scott?
Yeah.
No one actually heard it. It sounded very, very throaty.
No.
So, Joe, just so end of the night viewers know, when the TV show Billions come back, it comes back on a Sunday night, I think in late March. It's a hit show on Showtime. But right here on the end of the night, the Friday before Billions comes back, we're going to have 3 stars of Billions on the show. The Friday night before Billions come back, one of which, the great Dollar Bill, Kelly O'Coin, who was on our show already, will be one of the 3. But you have to stay tuned to find out who the other 2 are. And it's going to just be an amazing show. If you like Showtime's Billions with Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti, you are going to love our show that night. So
Wow.
I'm sorry, when is that?
Billions comes back at the end of March.
So the week before the end
The Friday before the Sunday, the show airs on the season premiere episode airs on a Sunday, and we're going to have them on the Friday before that Sunday.
Very cool.
If you're a Billions fan, we have a very, very special episode all lined up for you. And, that's a bit. You know what, Joe? We've had a pretty good season so far. I mean, tonight we
I
had
agree.
Bill Katt. We had Donnie Most the other night. I mean, Ralph Mouth was on our show. I mean, it's great.
And I just started discovering his music now after that. And
Really?
yeah. I mean, some of it is friggin' phenomenal. Well, all of it's great, but I relate to certain ones, and it's really cool. And I was surprised to find out that he's right in Orlando doing these concerts.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Such a sweetheart of a guy. Yeah. It was, this show has just really just been really special to me, especially in the world of COVID. to be able to hang out with my friends in the Indie Brigade and everybody out there who I love dearly. Thank you so much to you guys to watch. Believe me, it hurt my heart that I couldn't be on last week. Joe will tell you, I wrote him and said, I will hook my computer up to the generator to do a show. But here's something that's even more important than anything we've done on this show so far. This comes from both Scott and I. We both want to wish you, because we wanted to do a very, very special Joe Ridgely birthday show. But seeing that your birthday was last Friday and all kinds of poop hit the fan, we couldn't do exactly what we wanted to. But with that being said, from the bottom of my heart, and I'll let Scott speak for himself in a moment, from the bottom of my heart, I want to wish you a very, very happy birthday. And I want to thank you for not only being a great co-host, but a great producer. And I also want to thank you for being one of the architects who built this amazing network that literally thousands of people love and hundreds of people look forward to every week to watch. And it would have never happened if it wasn't for you, Mr. Ridgely. So happy birthday.
Here, here. I cannot say anything better. You are an awesome bastard.
I greatly appreciate it, gentlemen. I don't know if I'm going to blush, tear up, or drink.
Drink and stay awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. That means the world.
No, absolutely. Blame Joe, yes.
Thank you, Brian.
Happy belated birthday from Brian O'Halloran.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Sean.
And William's telling me that the Waltons are coming back, so I have even more to live for. That's unbelievable.
I'm assuming those are reruns.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, when you say I thought you meant making a comeback with a new, they're rebooting everything.
Reboot.
So
Reboot,
yeah. you never know these days.
Yeah, no, we have to make it. I told this to both Melissa Gilbert and Richard Thomas in real life. I said, because we had Tim, who's Melissa's husband on the show,
Yeah.
and they live right up here now. I said, we have to make a Hallmark movie where it's the 1940s. And thank God Richard Thomas hasn't aged. He looks just like John Boy still. It's horrifying. John Boy, the character, turns out to be a newspaper writer, in the series. He wants to be a writer. So here's what we do. It's 1940s, and Laura Ingalls Wilder in real life lived to the 1950s. You have John Boy Walton writing a story about Laura Ingalls Wilder, who at this point in the 1940s is already a famous writer. And you have the two of them meet in New York City, and they reminisce about their lives growing up, and you have the greatest crossover movie in the history of television. The Waltons' Little House on the Prairie special. You can see I'm getting old and soft. If I was
Everybody over 60 will watch it.
Everybody, including me. And I'm.
Well, you'll have Jewel. Jewel loves those shows.
You got to admit, for somebody over 60, I don't look that bad. If I get Damien on, I will wait. I need to talk to him. Okay. What does he owe you, like $12 or something?
$3.50.
I need to talk to Damien. You know what's the weirdest thing about Damien Lewis is that in everything you watch him in, he has like this rugged, tough, like Northeast tough guy voice. But when you speak to him in real life, he's totally British. It's very weird. It's like Hugh Laurie, the guy who plays House.
Right.
And you're just
very
like,
British.
You're very British, and you're like, really? Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Just
All
like
right.
the current Spider-Man. Very British.
Very British. Very British. Well, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. I also want to be a whore for a moment and tell everybody to go out and watch my latest film, Wit's End. Got the poster for me there, Slugger.
I'm looking for it.
Me and the lovely Scott Schiaffo. It's actually available worldwide. It's on Tubi. It's on Amazon. It's on Hulu and Vudu and Shmulu.
Okay,
It's like
so,
all
not for nothing. Since he called me Slugger, this is going to be Dave if you do not watch it.
Ding!
Yes. Thank you so much for showing that, because there's some amazing news on that particular film. I have 2 shots I need to complete that film. It's being scored by the great Marco Werber in Italy right now.
Wow.
And yeah, Brian. When we had the 4 feet of snow, was like, "Why aren't you gonna film in Wits End too?" Yeah, great pal of mine.
Wait a minute, part 2, the Pinto.
The film that I have 2 shots to film, and one with my dear friend Scott, who's right there. We just haven't gotten around to doing that because of COVID. And in that, in my upcoming werewolf film, Full Moon Fever, there's going to be a cameo by one of the most recognizable stars of a werewolf film ever. And that's all I'm going to say.
Was he in a Dr. Pepper commercial?
Oh,
He might drink Dr. Pepper, don't you know, but his name might be Jack. So that's all I'm going to leave. A New York City guy. That's all I'm going to say. And that is going to be shot this coming Wednesday. So I'm super excited about that.
cool.
It's literally going to be less than a minute screen time, but he said he'll do it for me, and it's kind of like a passing the torch kind of scene. So I'm super excited about that. And
That is awesome.
and that movie, I'm absolutely shocked at how good it came out because I'm not known for making really great movies, and no, all kidding aside, I have a very specific style. Either you like it or you hate it, and there's 10 people who like it and 10 million who hate them. But clearly the actor is Reb Brown from Howlin'. Absolutely,
Nailed it.
JD, why do you have to ruin all my surprises? Damn it. But that being said, and also Mr. Hush just got on. This is very important because it's extremely difficult to get on. Mr. Hush just got on IMDb TV, and what that means is that if you go on IMDb to look up Mr. Hush, you can literally watch Mr. Hush right on IMDb for free right now instead of going through Amazon or Tubi or Hulu.
Is that actually on the pedestrian IMDb or the paid
Anybody who goes on IMDb to look up if Stephen.
So you don't need a paid account.
You don't need anything. You just
Wow.
All right, but also, David, what you got to realize with IMDb, they actually have an app now for Roku and Fire TV where you can watch that movie. Also, it's a separate app from actual IMDb. It's IMDb TV and movies.
Oh, sweet! So it's even more households. Yeah, my distributor reached out to me because it just recently got picked up by IMDb TV, which then has not yet, which is still on Amazon worldwide, but not on IMDb TV, and it's supposedly a big deal. So I'm super excited that Mr. Hush is now available to hundreds of millions of people on IMDb TV, which is difficult to say.
That is awesome. Amazon and IMDb are the same outfit. They own each other, or Amazon owns IMDb or whatever.
Yeah, IMDb TV and Tubi TV are 2 of the more lucrative streaming services for independent filmmakers. So if you're out there watching this and you're an indie filmmaker, those are the platforms that you really want to get on because they really are where indie filmmakers can kind of make back their investments on their films. But with that being said, I'm done whoring myself. Again, I want to thank George for letting me play in his sandbox. Mr. Schaffo, is there anything you would like to say in parting?
I could do a quick bit of whoring if I can.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Wizard World, the 20th of February. It's a Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a Clerks Q&A, myself, Brian O'Halloran, and Marilyn Gigliotti. And then the following week, there's opportunities to get in on the merch and one-on-one chats. And the following Saturday, the 27th, is when all of that stuff is happening. One-on-one chats, group chats, virtual shout-outs, and all kinds of craziness brought to you by the people of the great Wizard World. So looking forward to that towards the end of this month. And thank you for all the blessings, everybody, for staying on board and supporting my wacky world I appreciate it more than you know.
Anything from you, Mr. Ridgely?
Me? No. I just love you guys so much, and I appreciate doing this with you guys every week. It's so much fun, and looking forward to what's to come.
Oh, we have. I assure you. I mean, when you look back at we're almost coming up on our year anniversary, Mr. Ridgely. And when
Yes.
you look back at the guests we've been blessed to have on this show and to share with the Indie Brigade family, it's really mind-boggling that these people are willing to talk to a moron like me, to be honest with you. And I could say that there's only more wonderful stuff coming. And with that being said, it couldn't be any more fitting for me to end my show like I always do. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends, especially these guys. Be well, everybody. We'll see you next Friday.